morning, everyone. It's 8 o'clock on the start of your Wednesday morning.
Day.
Welcome to what has been a cold, frigid, god-awful temperature-wise week.
I told myself if we could just get through Tuesday and Wednesday, we can do anything at this point. Yesterday was so frigid to the point where today, where it's like 2 degrees warmer, feels so much better.
What does that tell you?
Oh, we're dealing with a lot. Good morning to everyone. Melly says she loves our new screen. I like the music that comes with that.
Isn't that
little,
cool?
like, it's kind of boppy, huh?
Yeah, I'm
Linda's
here.
here, Peter's here, Connie's here, Lauren's here. Good morning. Good morning.
It is my least favorite day of the week. I am telling you, I don't know what it is, and I think maybe it is the weather, but I am having a really hard time getting out of bed and getting here.
Not motivating when it's 10 degrees.
Right. I mean, like, you're just so warm and you're cozy in your bed.
Yep.
Is it the same thing for you? Because, you know, if you're up with us, you're up early and you just feel good being in your own space,
nice
right?
and warm and cozy.
Yeah.
You feel good in your bed. You look outside and you're like, ooh.
Exactly, Mark. I'm going back to bed. Oh, going back to New Orleans. Got it. I never mind. I read it that wrong. But do you know what I mean? It's hard when you're warm and you don't want to have to move. You hibernate a little bit like a polar bear.
Just a tad. I was a little warm in bed. I need to turn the heat down before I go to bed.
God, I hate that.
I am constantly like waking up sweating.
I literally will wake up in a pool of sweat sometimes, which is too much information, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just one of those things that if you are working while you're sleeping,
hard to get comfy sometimes and stay that way.
Okay, so good morning, guys. Tina, wind makes a big difference, she says. No kidding. Right? That it is true.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, and that's that's like the belittling part. I'm trying to like go outside. I'm like,
right.
Like can't even stand
Insult
up straight.
To injury. Linda, that's why I like being retired. I can always go back to bed.
Anita's still in bed this morning.
Good for you.
Too cold to get out.
Crystal says, Ed, I have to say that we need a still shot of you and Aaron sitting next to each other. Okay, so he's massive. And
so funny.
I wish I had a box or something because I'm so short. But you know
so
what?
Tiny.
Good things come in small packages, Crystal.
Period.
Lauren says, it was hard to get out of bed this morning. Fireplace was on and I didn't want to get out of bed. I know.
You just want to like eat something warm, like have hot cocoa and just stay kind of bundled up. And honestly, so jealous of most of the kids in a lot of school districts have off this week.
Yeah.
I probably just love it.
Kelly works outside. She says facts, especially when you work outside.
Oh, who wants to work in that?
I know. Well, we appreciate your hard work. Speaking of being outside, we are expecting those hundreds of corrections officers to be back outside at all of those prisons across New York State. It's not just
25.
Here, right, in Western New York. It is literally across the state, dotting each and every location at this point. And here's some interesting information about what's happening today. This is day 3 now of this strike, which, you know, the state says is illegal. It violates the Taylor law, which prevents a strike that's unauthorized. This union has not authorized the strike, but these corrections officers have said, enough is enough. We're done here. What's interesting this morning is that Nick Langworthy, the congressman from Western New York, is going to be at Collins today, standing shoulder to shoulder with these corrections officers.
Yeah.
But if they don't go back to work after today, the National Guard's coming in.
To go in for them.
Right.
So they'll have to staff the prisons in some areas. And I think it's like we mentioned yesterday, the tension boiling to the surface. And we've heard a lot we can't really hear from the corrections officers. We're hearing from former corrections officers and from the union who's speaking for them because they're worried about losing their jobs. But they're very loud out there. They've got their signs, they've got numbers, and we haven't heard too much from the state. But yesterday was the first time we actually heard back from them. So they replied to each and every one of the demands from the corrections officers, and you can read all of that on WKBW.com. And for the first time, we heard from the governor. So, and Congressman Langworthy going out there is the first time we'll see someone in person addressing it.
What's interesting about Langworthy going out there is that I think he's like the first lawmaker to actually go out there since they started striking.
Everyone else has just sent a statement.
Yeah, I mean, we had Ort send a statement. We had Borrello send a statement. We had the governor send a statement.
Just words. This is action.
Exactly. I mean, this shows that they're taking this very seriously. So John just put a link to the corrections officer's demands in the comments here. You could check that out. Kelly says these people deserve what they want. Lauren, praying for all the corrections officers or law enforcement. Why are they striking? Great question, Cindy. So let's go back to the beginning here.
This started on Monday at Collins Correctional Facility.
You know what, though? And I would even argue this started long before that.
Months ago, honestly.
So back in August, I think it was, during the summer, there were issues inside Collins when a number of corrections officers were poisoned.
Right.
And they were getting sick from some sort of a chemical that was in the air. I believe it came from the mailroom.
Very suspicious. You know, this weird exposure. We went to Collins at one point and we're seeing them get hosed off and all of this like hazmat gear. Very confusing. But from then, we've heard that they don't feel safe where they are. And back then, you asked the state for a list of complaints.
So I've been asking for formal complaints filed by corrections officers, staffers, whomever, inside these state prisons. And these complaints, you know, would I expect to detail things that they're concerned about, right? Staffing levels, inappropriate conduct. Who knows? I don't want to even speculate because, you know, God knows I don't know what happens inside. And thank God for that. But the state, every single time it is supposed to respond with responsive documents, says, no, Ed Dranch and the 7 News I team, we can't respond with these documents just yet.
We need more time.
We need more time. So they were supposed to send them to me last week. Never happened. Supposed to send them to me this week on Friday. Who knows if that'll happen, but this has been going on since August.
So then fast forward to Monday, or actually last week rather, at Collins, there was another issue that came up that, again, the information's a little murky. It's kind of unclear. There were cell phones that were found. They called them contraband. There was a minor use of force, we were told. And then they shut down the facility, put it on lockdown. They did a frisk for 3 days. They recovered 23 weapons during that frisk. And then come Monday, correctional officers at Collins went on strike.
Jess says, very bad conditions, do some research. We're trying, Jess. We're trying. It's not for lack of research. It is literally, we are being stonewalled.
Right. That's the whole point of what Ed's just saying. He's trying to figure this out. We can't even talk to corrections officers.
Right.
We can't even really have access to that. So we're really only showing you what we can. We wish we could show more. Someone mentioned too, it'll be good for the National Guard members to see what it's like in there.
Anita says the state is the master at stalling and sweeping things under the carpet. I'm concerned if prisoners could escape. And I, you know, that's kind of what the state is saying, that these people who are striking right now are putting not only the prisoners at risk, but also their fellow staff members. You know, the state is trying to play innocent here, but the corrections officers say that they are completely guilty.
And they're saying, you know, this is how bad it is, that they are not going into work. It's technically an illegal strike, not you know, authorized by the union there. So the people who are currently staffing have been there for days and days now. Since the strike started, the same people have been working. They've been doing 12 hours on, 12 hours off, not able to go home to their families while their coworkers are outside striking.
Julie says, speak to the families. Everyone's willing to give the facts on behalf of RCOs. Julie, if you know someone who's willing to speak and willing to share the impact on the family and understands what it's like to have somebody working these crazy hours and mandatory overtime and in what they say is dangerous conditions, please tell us. Send me a message. What you can do is send me a text message. I'll even give you my phone number here, Julie. And John, I'll put it in the comments for me. It's 716-713-3514. Please send me a text message. Yeah, here we go. I have my own super now.
Boom, text or call Ed Dranch.
Call me, babe. Call me now.
You're gonna get spam messages at this point.
But seriously, like if you know someone who is willing to talk, or if it's you who is willing to talk, call me. Send me a text message because we want to talk to these people. Okay, Diane says there are 21 prisons on strike, not just Collins. It's actually closer to 30.
Yeah, closer to 30 now. It's expanding. It's really growing. It'll be interesting to see if it continues growing, how the state will respond. But it is interesting to read through the state's responses so far to each of those demands.
They went point by point too.
Right, and there's a lot of demands that they have here. So they went point by point, saying that, you know, a lot of their demands go against the contract that they just bargained and negotiated with the union.
Mark says the governor is over her head right now with this and the mayor of New York City. Right. So now not only is the governor having to deal with this crisis across New York State, she's also dealing with the issues with Eric Adams downstate and the nonsense that he brings along with the job, you know, the corruption charges that he's facing. And then the Trump administration is trying to drop those charges. Hochul's like, what do I do here?
I know. I can only imagine. It's a lot, but you got these people going through a lot as well. Jessica chiming in here too. Staffing shortages, harsh working conditions, 48 hours of mandatory working. Last week, 3 guards went to get contraband. Inmates said they were trying to rape them as well as kill them. Inmates took over the form. I mean, the stories that we're hearing from these corrections officers are pretty intense. Christina saying prayers for our COs, good for them for being brave enough to stand up for what's right. They know what's at stake, and this shows how bad their working conditions are.
Peter saying we have every right to vent here because we are reporting for our community. And you know what, Peter, it's not even venting. It is literal facts. Every single time something happens and the can is kicked down the road, maybe I'm putting it in layman's terms a little bit instead of being like, all prim and proper and buttoned up about it, because it's nonsense. Because by law, they were supposed to be giving you these documents. That's what the Freedom of Information Law is about. New York State says it's transparent, yet there are so many delays.
And I think it's huge that we haven't seen this in so long.
Right.
It's not every day that more than 20 prisons have all their workers go on strike. I mean, this is huge. This is drastic. I mean, we've got to call it what it is.
Donald says, you people have no idea what actually goes on. The governor lies to you. Carrie says, and I think, Carrie, this might be the first time that we're hearing from you, and we're glad to hear from you. They can't keep those COs inside. It's kidnapping. It's not right, because the people who are working inside right now and were working there prior to the strike haven't been able to leave.
Yeah, so we're going to be back out there today, of course. Our team's doing a fantastic job. Kudos to both Derek and Eileen, who were out there yesterday in the frigid temperatures out there talking to these people whose voices need to be heard.
Melanie says the officers have some valid concerns and do need additional staff and support. Everyone who enters the facilities should be going through body scanners to prevent contraband. It's also unsafe for incarcerated individuals like Robert Brooks, who was murdered. People are dealing with no meds, no heat, no food now. I see both sides of this complicated issue.
I think it's important to do that, 100%. To look at all sides of the issue. I've seen some posts from people who know inmates in there, and they're concerned for them. They're like, are they going to get what they need? Are they going to, I'm not going to be able to speak to them because visitation has been canceled for the past couple of days. So people who do have loved ones there, whichever side they're on, whether a correctional officer or an inmate, are very concerned.
It's an interesting conversation here because, on one hand, we've seen big changes in the criminal justice system, reforms to the criminal justice system. We've seen bail reform. We've seen the HALT Act. We've seen so many things given to incarcerated individuals, these prisoners. But we haven't seen much taken away. And I think that's what the CEOs are trying to showcase.
They feel overlooked because the inmates are getting so much and there's so much care for them. They feel like, okay, well, what about us in this situation?
And, I think that having seen what happened with Robert Brooks and knowing that there is, the medical examiner in that case called it a homicide. I mean, knowing that this went on and it was caught on body camera, I think that there are valid concerns on both sides.
I think I want to know more. I mean, we're nosy, right? Our jobs are to look at things and ask questions and poke and prod, but we don't know so much. I mean, we've never seen the inside of these prisons. We don't get to see what's going on in there. We barely get to hear what's going on. I wonder if at the end of this, there's more transparency about what's going on here, because I mean, we've heard from folks former corrections officers like Anita, who have seen things, and we can only have dealt with these kinds of things. But what else? What don't we know in the situation?
So Kelly says one bad egg can ruin it for all, and isn't that the case? I mean, one instance of malfeasance can give an entire community a bad name, and that's why I really hate painting with broad brushes. I think it's so difficult to say everyone is bad because of one or two people, and Anita says she's seen it all. It's not pretty. What's the worst you've seen, Anita? Maybe that you can put into perspective for us. I mean, you're kind of our expert here. And Anita, I wonder, maybe we could send you a link. Maybe we can have you on talking with us. Would you want to do that? You're kind of like our resident second cup expert here.
Right? Chime in, chat with us. And
we'd love to hear from you. I'm getting 2 text messages here from corrections officers' wives. Yeah, I do want to talk with you guys.
Boom.
It's an important topic, and everyone has rights here. Unfortunately, the corrections officers are governed by the state. They are state employees.
Right.
The prisoners are in custody of the state. So you got to walk this fine line here. And, sure, the prisoners committed crimes, but they're still humans.
Mhm.
But the corrections officers are doing a job that no one else wants to do.
Right.
It's a fine line.
Whew.
Megan says, what don't you know? Pull up a chair. You cannot even begin.
Tell us.
Donald says, I've seen inmates cut open with a ceramic blade and his intestines fell
Gosh.
out. Jesus.
Ugh.
Kimberly says there are definitely valid concerns on both sides. Like you said, one bad egg, not saying all the officers are perfect, but most are genuinely good people. Jessica says COs that are in the Collins facility working are told they don't get medical care. Coming from a CO family, the strike is well worth it. I've seen and heard so much that this is ridiculous that the governor doesn't even care about the COs.
Do you think Kathy Hochul will go down there? If this strike continues, let's say, do you see the governor going down there to talk to COs?
No, I don't.
I think that would do a lot, right? Don't you think? I mean, seeing her and having that conversation, or at least, I don't know, gathering with the union, something. There are conversations that need to be had, and I wonder if they'll get a chance to have them.
From an optics standpoint, if I'm the governor's optics person, I'm not sending her into the fire like that.
Well, no.
But I would have a meeting with
That's
the
what
union.
I'm saying. Someone sit down somewhere, or even not necessarily going straight to the picket line to have a conversation like Congressman Langworthy is going today, but doing something. I don't know.
On the other hand, the governor needs to speak up. If I'm the optics person for the governor, not that I'm telling her what to do. I'm simply thinking from a crisis communication standpoint, like. A statement's not going to cut it. Are you trying to seem tough on this? Because the governor, it was so interesting. The governor's statement yesterday was playing both sides here. On one hand, she's just you need to get back to work. This is illegal. On the other hand, she was I've done so much for the COs while I've been in office. So where's the middle ground here? I wonder.
It's been because we're dealing with statements and the media, we're kind of the middleman here.
Right.
We're hearing from the state, and then we're also hearing directly from the former COs and people who are striking. And it's
right.
Can't we just have direct conversation?
Well, and the problem with having statements is that some of these are contradictory. The state's statements have been contradicting one after another.
We've literally heard at one point, there was no use of force. And then in the same day, there was use of force.
Anita says, I'm definitely not an expert in the fact that I retired in 2017 at the very beginning of some of this nonsense. I couldn't offer any firsthand experience since 2017. Okay, fair enough. Howard says, here's the thing. If you do right in life, you won't be in a place like that. So if everyone did right, we would not need those places. Donald says, I was checked into ECMC due to mental health. I lost my mind with that job. Lori says, they deal drugs right in the Niagara County Jail parking lot. Anita says, so much blood is spilled, mostly inmate on inmate.
Someone asked, I think it was Kristen said, what has Governor Hochul done for the COs?
Well, okay, so I'm going to pull up what she said yesterday because, she was, hold on one second, Hochul statement. I think this is it.
If we can find her full statement, we can read it, because she listed some of the things that she's done for COs and mentioned it when she got back to us yesterday. Now my computer's choosing to.
Okay, so obviously she is deploying the National Guard here.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Okay, so Governor Hochul, this is according to the statement, and I'll read it to you. I mean, this is just these are the facts that she's putting out there. She's worked with NYSCOBA, which is the union, to improve salaries, benefits, and working conditions for corrections officers. In March 2024, the union agreed to a collective bargaining agreement with the state of New York to improve working conditions for corrections officers, increasing the salaries and starting pay for new employees by $6,500, increasing correction officer location-based pay by $500 to $1,000 per officer for downstate assignments, increasing correction officer hazard pay from $200 to $1,075, providing 12 weeks of fully paid parental leave. She says she's also passed new laws and implementing administrative changes to protect corrections officers, including advancing legislation to authorize the use of body scanners in these facilities and securing funding to procure the deployment of this technology. So then she also lists a bunch of other bullet points. that really speaks about retention and recruitment. I think that there's a lot that she can point to in terms of like the big picture, but on an individual facility by facility basis, it seems like there's not a lot done on the ground.
And I don't know if the COs are feeling that, or feeling the impact of that. Everyone chiming in saying that's all lies. None of that is true. And that she hasn't done anything. That's how it feels, at least from their perspective.
Mark says, but has anything that she says been done? What's the result of having those job fairs with COs? What's the, to bring in more COs? Is that productive? Danielle says her statement is a joke. Jessica says, oh my gosh, all lies. She look like she cares. Lie, lie, lie. Nicole says not all inmates are bad. Some of them actually respect the COs. You give respect, you get respect. It sucks for both sides.
Well,
sorry. I understand what you're saying, though.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it clean, but we hear you. We hear you.
Becky, good morning to you. We're glad to hear from you. I think also for the first time. And look, this is something that we do every single morning. It's called Second Cup. We love hearing your voice. My husband is a CO, and I'm afraid of getting a call that he's in the hospital due to fentanyl exposure or worse. Inmates are incarcerated for a reason, she says. The administration really has not done a whole lot for these COs. Trust me.
Anita chiming in again saying, my heart breaks for the young children of COs. They never know when mommy or daddy are coming home. And I can't help but think about the families of the COs who are working right now and have had to work since the strike started on Monday.
Right.
And they've been there sleeping, on and off, 12 hours on, 12 hours off. I mean,
so I love that people feel comfortable texting me. And, John will put up my cell phone number again. And I love hearing from you guys because it creates so much more of an information flow. So somebody just texted me and, include your name here because I've got your phone number, but I don't really know who I'm speaking to. But this is an interesting text message that I just got. Y'all need to start speaking with inmates' family members. It's a lot. The COs, this person says, should also be going through body scanners because some bring in the cell phones and the drugs. So she's saying, it's not just the visitors, or this person is saying it's not just the visitors, but also some of those COs who are bringing in the contraband that leads to these lockdowns. That
potential bad egg that people were talking about before. But I mean, there's so many voices to include here. You're talking about from the CO side and the inmate side. There are a lot of people that are impacted by this.
Kimberly says, no one wants to become a CO anymore. Why would they? My dad retired a few years ago from Collins, and I begged him for years to retire before he finally did. It's only gotten worse for them the past few years. And then Peter, this is kind of interesting too. It's not about the money. I'm sorry, this is Lisa. The HALT Act is a major issue. It ties their hands to do their job correctly.
And this has to do with solitary confinement and who they can put into solitary, or if they can put people into solitary when issues do come up.
Jen says, my brother is a CO with a young baby and can only work doubles because he never knows if he's going to get stuck and mandated. Wow. Coward. Yeah, right.
Drench for president. Drench for governor. Drench for mayor.
Oh my
Drench
God.
for everything.
Melanie says, not all family members are bad. And look, again, I think it's really important that we keep in mind that we cannot paint with a broad brush.
Right.
You can't say all COs are bad. You can't say all visitors are bad. That all inmates are stabbing each other with shanks. You can't say these things.
Right, especially when we don't know so much. But I'm so glad that so many people are talking about this and that we're able to have this kind of conversation on Second Cup. If you're here for the first time, this is what we do here. This is the kind of conversation we have. And we want to hear from all sides. So we want you to chime in, whether that's in the comments here, whether it's texting Ed directly.
I love it.
This is what it's all about, having these conversations.
Jessica, thank you so much for sending me a text message. I really appreciate you. Anita says, not all of any group is bad. And that's the point here, right? I mean, we've got to look at this objectively at some point and say, what's the root cause?
And how can we fix it? What's being done to address problems?
Right.
We can all agree that there are problems. Something is wrong here. You don't just have more than 20 prisons going on strike and their workers going on strike for no reason.
Right.
Something has to be done. What action is going to be taken? Is it going to be more statements? Are they going to renegotiate a new contract? What has to happen here?
Christina says, bottom line, their strike is not about money or pay, like many wrongfully assume. It's about their safety. No one should be forced to work as much as they are. We never know when and if they're coming home. No one wants to become a CO There is no one left to replace these guys, so Hochul should be jumping to hear their concerns and work towards something. Again, I mean, yeah. And Nikki says it needs to come to a conclusion on both sides. We have a CEO, an
loved
LO,
one?
okay, who is incarcerated. I see it from both angles. Yes, the inmates are there for a reason, but they don't need to be beaten. I believe in solitary when something is done wrong, a happy medium needs to come. All COs are not bad, she says. My inmate is in honor housing and just wants this done as well. And look, let's face it, the people who are there, I would argue, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would suspect that most people who are in these situations want to do their time and get the hell out of there.
I can only imagine.
Mike says, you guys should be glad you don't know what we know. Bottom line, it stinks, and we just want to be heard. T-Lynn Marie, good morning. The people who have the power to make changes don't do it because it doesn't affect their lives. If it did, they might see things through a different lens. Mm. Well, here we are. We mentioned, sorry to interject here, Second Cup goes for a half hour now, and we appreciate you sticking with us here. We're going to join in with Aaron, who's going to track that 7 weather forecast. We're going to pipe his mic in for you as well so that you can hear what's going on with the weather. Oh, wow, listen to this. Foley says, I know a CO who had feces thrown on him. That happens every single day. Listen to what Mike says. Over the last 5 years, staff assaults have doubled and inmate-on-inmate assaults have tripled. That's crazy. It's all with a lower incarcerated population due to the state's changes in laws, not to mention the drug use inside the places are not safe. Thank you, Michael, for letting us know. We're going to just pause for a second here and merge in with Aaron, who's doing a TV weather forecast for you. Stand by for us.
All right, good morning, everyone. Here's a view of the 219 going northbound, the left lane block right there. Right as you're heading toward the 90, the car that went off the road, it is now out of the ditch as they continue to tend to that. We do have put it back around the 219 going northbound. We have winter weather advisory in effect for Niagara County until 1 p.m. today. Lake effect snow warning for Orleans County. We check out the radar. We do that snow coming down off of Lake Ontario once again. Northern part of the county, you can see a couple of inches of additional accumulation. To Somerset, back toward Medina, Albion, over toward Carleton. You're in that 1 to 3 inch range for today, on top of what you already have on the ground. 16 degrees right now, winds out of the west at 13 miles per hour, 17 in Niagara Falls, 6 in Jamestown. Not as windy today as it has been, but you can still feel that breeze. Feels like 2 in Buffalo. It feels like 8 degrees below zero in Jamestown. The hourly forecast, mostly cloudy and cold today with temperatures in the upper teens this afternoon. We have those snow showers north of Buffalo today into tonight. Tomorrow, we're all going to get some snow. Expect mostly cloudy skies with snow across the area Thursday, continuing into Friday. We are talking a few inches of accumulation by Friday morning. So this is for Thursday morning through Friday morning. About 2 to 3 inches of snow will accumulate across the area. Not a major event, certainly not a high impact event, but enough to make the roads a little bit slippery. Your forecast for today, cloudy and cold with snow north of Buffalo, another few inches of accumulation. Your high today, 18, winds out of the west at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Tonight, overnight low of 12 with snow showers toward tomorrow morning. And then tomorrow, temperatures near 20 with that general snowfall. We get into Friday, low 20s under cloudy skies, near 30 this weekend, near 40 on Monday. Wow, 40 degrees with some late day rain and snow on Monday. Tuesday, we're in the upper 30s with some snow showers.
All right. It's been frigid. It's been freezing.
Yeah, it's been super cold.
It's only Wednesday. We'll talk back. We'll start the conversation again. A lot of people thanking us for the coverage, and it doesn't stop here.
Yeah.
Derek's been on top of it. Derek Hyde, Eileen Buckley's been on top of it. We're going to be covering this all day. And it's a lot of people talking about, the inmates, who's talking to them, who cares about their rights.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. I mean, there have been police boards, liaisons, people who are trying to get inmates taken care of. We've seen that, but is it effective?
Sounds like there's still a lot left to be done. Ed's number's still there. A couple people were asking if they can get in touch with him. You can text him.
Yeah, by all means.
Him up.
here we are. I'm getting a ton of texts. Love it.
Nice.
Appreciate you guys.
People are thanking you too, Aaron, and saying they don't blame you for the cold.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yes.
Have a great day, everyone.